I mean, God really knew what he was doing when he created the Sabbath. Amen? I mean, I had a crazy week this week, really busy week, and it's so nice just to not have to worry about all those things that I had to deal with this week, as I'm sure you feel the same way. But, God knew what he was doing when he made the Sabbath. Speaking about the Sabbath, how many people were here this morning for Sabbath school? Few were here, right? This Sabbath school lesson this morning was entitled Blueprint for a Better World. And as we discussed in Sabbath school, we discussed this blueprint. Can somebody tell me what this blueprint is all about? What was it? What's the blueprint? The Ten Commandments, right? Right? And unfortunately, when a lot of people think about the Ten Commandments, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that they believe that it is a bunch of rules about do's and don'ts. And, we know that the law of God is much more than that. And, and we're so thankful for Jesus because Jesus really understood what the spirit of the law was all about. Do you remember in the New Testament when the lawyer asked him about the law? He asked him, what do you think about the law? And what did Jesus say? He said, when you think about the law, first of all, you need to think of what? Love God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul. And second, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, the question I want to ask this morning is, how can we implement or live this blueprint in our lives? And I believe in my heart that the only way that we can truly live this blueprint in our lives is only when we realize how much God really loves us and cares about us. When God cares, what we need to realize is that, and recognize, is that God not only loves us, but he finds us unique, he finds us special, and not only are we special and unique, but he also has a plan and a purpose for us. You are special, you are unique, and God has a plan and a purpose for you. Once we realize that, I truly believe that we can live the life that God wants us to live and live that blueprint that he wants us to live. Now, having said that, what I wanted to share with you this morning is a really short sermonette. And what I wanted to share with you was a devotion that I read to our mission team of 50 people in Paraguay, not last year, but the year before last. Now, you're probably wondering, how can you remember a devotion that you shared with someone 2 years ago when I can't even remember what I read for my devotion yesterday? But the truth is that some things really stick in your mind, and this passage or this devotion that I want to share with you this morning really spoke to me. It's really powerful, and I hope that it speaks to your hearts and that it is powerful to you because it makes us realize that we really are special and unique to God. And this devotion was found. It can be found in a book entitled "Let the Journey Begin" by Max Lucado, and it's entitled "No One is Useless to God." And it reads, "In my closet hangs a sweater that I seldom wear. It is too small, the sleeves are too short, the shoulders are too tight. Some of the buttons are missing, and the threads are frazzled. Logic says that I should clear out my closet and get rid of the sweater. That's what logic says. But somehow, love won't let me. You see, there is something unique about that sweater that makes me want to keep it. What is unusual about it? Well, it is the creation of a devoted, loving mother expressing her love. You see, that sweater is unique. It's one of a kind. It cannot be replaced. Each strand was chosen with care. Each thread was selected with affection. And though the sweater has lost all of its use, it has lost none of its value. It is valuable not because of its function, but because of its maker. You see, that must have been what the psalmist had in mind when he wrote, "You knit me together in my mother's womb." Now think about these words for a moment. You were knitted together by the God of the universe. Whoa. You were knitted together by the God of the universe. What does that mean to you? Well, to me, it means that you are not an accident. You were not mass-produced. You are not an assembly line product, but rather, listen to this, you were deliberately planned, specifically gifted, and lovingly positioned here on this earth by the master craftsman himself, God. You know, and in a society that has little room for second fiddles, I want to tell you this morning, brothers and sisters and friends, that is great news, isn't it? You know, in a system that ranks the value of a human being by the money he makes or the way he looks, let me tell you something this morning. Jesus' plan for you is the reason for joy. You see, you are valuable to God not because of anything you do, but because he uniquely created you with a purpose and a plan in mind. You see, in God's plan, he has made us so unique because there are only certain things that you can do that no one else can. Perhaps it's parenting, or constructing houses, or encouraging the discouraged, or meeting the needs of others in the community. Whatever your talent is, whatever your gift is, whatever your ability is, the Bible assures us that each of us is personally and uniquely made by God, and that every single one of us has a very important purpose. Do you believe that? So because of purpose, our God of love has deliberately positioned and gifted us so that we can truly be a blessing to others. And just like that sweater that had lost its usefulness, it still is valuable because of its maker, that loving, devoted mother. And just like that sweater, despite our flaws, despite our sin in our lives, despite our shortcomings, we too are valuable because of our Maker God, who loves us so much that he sees us more valuable and precious than we can ever imagine. And praise God this morning that through his grace, he chooses you and I to be useful for his cause. You know, in Matthew chapter 9, verse 35, it says, "And Jesus went throughout all the towns and villages, teaching in the synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the gospel, the kingdom, and healing every disease and every illness." And in verse 36, it says, "When he," that is Jesus, "saw the crowds, he was moved with compassion." You know, for us in Mission Out Canada, this Bible passage is very significant to us because we believe it captures the very essence and the very example of what Jesus' ministry is all about, and that is to go, teach, and heal. And this represents what our mission statement is all about, to go, teach, and heal. The very same thing that Jesus did throughout his ministry 2,000 years ago. Now, I know that some of us sometimes think that the only way we can serve God is by going on a mission trip, but I want to tell you today that, you know, our mission is right here in our very backyard in our community. And our mission begins first at home with our spouses and our children and our extended families. Our mission is here within our church to help one another in fellowship, to help, you know, our brothers and sisters and our friends and our visitors. That's our mission statement here in church. Our mission is also in where we work, our place of work, with our colleagues and our bosses and our managers. And students, you don't get off the hook either here because your mission field is the school. It's your fellow students, your teachers, and anyone else that is there in school. So what I want you to know this morning is that you are special. You are unique. God has a purpose for you, and he has a plan for you. And through this purpose and through this uniqueness, it is my prayer that we too may go out and go and teach and heal those in our community. This time I want to invite Alan to come forward as we want to share with you some of the wonderful things that God has enabled us. And it's only through his grace that we were able to accomplish the things that we have done with Mission Out Canada. Now, You see those 3 words there at the bottom? I want us to read them together. Go,
teach,
and
heal.
Okay, because that is
Check.
what Jesus' ministry is all about. It's about meeting the needs of others.
Well, before we get started, I just want to say thanks to Dave and the AV team. I mean, I don't know if you see how crisp this is here, this slide. That's all direct result of our new projector here. Most places we go, Jim and I, this W and this N isn't visible, so this is just sweet, man. We are truly a blessed church, and thanks to the whole AV team for establishing that. But Mission Now Canada has devoted its energy to passionately advocating for the hungry, the needy, the underprivileged members of the world, of our global family. Many of you may know Pastor Bill Santos. He's at the helm. He's the CEO of us, and he's not just our evangelist, but he does come and he participates on the construction site, and he's the chief, shall I say, ice cream buyer. Obviously, Jimmy, better known as Dr. Jim on site, he's the head of not just the dentistry, but he handles the whole medical team, which does grow to be quite large. And I myself is the non-air-conditioned worker out in the field. Anyways, when Jesus walked the earth, he had a method. And he did it, and it worked. And sometimes as Adventists, or even just Christians, we do it backwards. And Jesus' method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good. He showed his sympathy for them. He ministered to their needs and won their confidence. And then, and only then, did he bid them, follow me. And if we met people where they're at, and just love them for who they are, we would get much further with our gospel message. For the last 4 years, well, three particular years, this is the 4th year, we've been going to one locale, Philadelphia, Paraguay. The reason we've been going there repetitively is because we built a relationship the first year with the mayor there, and he actually asked us to come back, so we made a commitment. So again, everything is a time-oriented. It takes time. Things don't happen overnight. And we have many stories that relate to this building of relationships and that. Right in the middle here, as we build relationships, so we originally talked with the mayor, and the gentleman in the middle, did you point? Yeah? Okay, sorry. He is the local senator, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. So he's a local senator that stopped by with his wife and started making friends, and they're just astonished that people would come into their country and do work for their people, literally for free, right? Here is the mayor, right beside Jim and I, obviously, and he is just a wonderful man. He's a farmer, actually, a cattle rancher. And he says he took the step down from ranching to become the mayor because he saw a need. And his big concern is children, actually. He loves to see the children occupied because his method is that if you keep the children off the streets, you keep them out of trouble. And pretty common. And then down here, a gentleman kneeling down, right there, he is the local senator. He was just voted in what?
He's the governor.
The other guy's not a governor? Senator Governor. See, I told you I'd get them mixed up. And so they all want to help us, and they all start chipping in. They have their own political, I don't know whether it's agendas and that, but we don't play that game. We're just in it for the free food, I guess. And so this is, okay, for those Spanish people, pardon my pronunciation, but Cacique Maeto. It basically means the reserve is by Chief Maeto. This is where we've been working on the construction aspect of it and just outside of it for the dental clinic. Some of the areas, in the indigenous areas, get pretty meek, shall we say, for living quarters and that. You could imagine that in a rainstorm. That's a house, actually. That's not a garage, not a shed. And that. And you can just see the poorness. Paraguay is a very poor country, but yet still relatively safe to be working in. And running water is just not an option. These pails here are for a reason. They go and collect their drinking water. The area we work in the Chaca region, is actually an old salt bed. and that. So there is no groundwater that's healthy to drink. The groundwater is tolerable by the animals, but for human consumption, it is not. So they collect their water in the winter. So a couple months ago was their rainy season. They have these huge cisterns in the ground, if they're fortunate enough. The rainwater from the eaves, from the roofs and that, they collect it to hopefully survive through the summer, which only gets a mild 59 degrees Celsius, right? And so last year, we were asked to do a unique project, and some people may think, why a sidewalk for a mission trip? Well, the sidewalk was 6 feet wide and, oh my goodness, 700 and some, yeah, really long. The reason, the reason being is you can see this is all clay. What do you get when you mix clay with water? Mud. You get mud about a foot and a half deep minimum. And so what happens is at this end, which is right here, this log, this is actually, at this end right here is the reserve. And unfortunately in the rainy season, the ladies could not get out to the main street, which would be way down there by that building. They could not get out to go out and get basics, the groceries and that, because they had to walk through mud, just like this. There was no path. When it rains, it pours, and it just makes a disaster. So we had the opportunity to build this, and I've been swinging a hammer now probably for 34 years, and I have to admit, I've never worked in such dust in my life. And you can see here, this is dust. This is the mild version. That was on all day. You can ask Maha. She had to wear like a bandana over her mouth because it clogs you up like crazy.
Even, people waiting outside in the clinic, the wind was blowing all day. Like I don't know how they could sit out there, dust in their eyes.
Yeah. And as Jim said, mission starts here, obviously. But if you're concerned that you don't know what you do on a mission trip because you're not a doctor, no worries. We put everybody to work, as you can see. Nobody gets off easy. We do it all manual labor, 90% of it. Even the evangelist has to help out. And that, we are gearing up, actually, next year would be our 5th and final year so far that we know of, by God's grace, in the Paraguay region, and we will be doing an evangelistic series because we have been building friends. They come to know us, they come back and they want to meet us, and that. We're only as good as a team behind us, and that. So here in the middle, a good friend of Billy's, he's from Brazil, and he brings over about 20 people. His name is Walter, and he's a builder also in Brazil, and they drive over, I think it's 700 kilometers, right? They drive 700 kilometers with their team to meet us when we're in Paraguay. And once again, I said, everybody jumps in. We have Maha here, and Edio, he's a bricklayer from Brazil in the background. We do things the right way. It's very common because we're working for the city. They supply us with a lot of equipment that's needed. We also have city employees that are working with us. I'm pretty sure they're on here. But we use like steel forms and everything. We did get the assistance of a scraper because I don't know if you ever dug hard pan before, and the shovel just doesn't work on it. Yeah, so we were about, I don't know, man, what were we, about 100 feet from the end, and the whole ground was about 5 inches high, and we would never just hand dig it in that time. And we saw a scraper go by, and somebody said, call out to that. Well, it's too late. Well, there comes another one, and anybody who knows me knows I can whistle. So we got his attention. He come over, and for the equivalent of, I think, 20 bucks, under 20 bucks, we got it done in 10 minutes. So to God be the glory. As I said, we do it right. You can see here there's rebar involved. So the reason being that, why the sidewalk is in the center. Believe it or not, that's white concrete, okay? Just blown over by dust while it's drying. It will eventually wear off. You can see the whiteness in behind and that. But this is an entrance into one of the parks, the local baseball fields and that. Again, local volunteers, Ramon, you may have heard us mention his name before. He lives an hour and a half south in Rio Verde, where we have built a pastor's house at one time. And he comes up all the time to help. He does a lot of work with ADRA, and it's just a wonderful blessing here. And you can see these are the city employees.
We also have a lot of deacons and elders from other churches that get on a bus and travel 400 or 500 kilometers, and they're there helping us every year with our projects. I know our deacons here just pick up the offering and do a few other things, but these guys are really, really dedicated to go, and sacrifice a week and work with us. That's why we go down there, because these people are just amazing. Like, they have this love for God and love for serving Him, and it makes it so easy for us to go down and work together with them.
It does, and I'm actually in communication with about 7 of them right now, because the next project we're going to be doing is a music hall, so it's a lot of bricklaying, and a lot of them are bricklayers, so they're just itching to come. And did I go the wrong way or something? Oh, sorry. Let's go back. We'll do the Charlie Chapman walk here, if we can get it. There it goes. So this is she's our construction photographer, believe it or not. And this is what it looks like. This is long. That was 6 days of pouring concrete, all mixing by hand, pails. It's all by pails and that. And then tools. I mean, like I say, I've been swinging a hammer a long time, and I like tools. I like the right thing, because you're only as good as the machine that you're using. And they don't have them, and so many people actually donate tools or money to go towards tools, and these men can then use them in their trades later on. So we always give out all kinds of tools, whether it be hammers, tape measures, chalk lines, chains. Last year we did lasers, right? We did both laser plumb and actually laser level too, combinations, and that.
The first year we went down there, we had 20 guys, and guess how many hammers we had between all of us? We had one hammer. And this thing looked like it went through
World War II.
World War II and World War I, all the wars. I mean, you couldn't even tell it was a hammer. You couldn't tell which end was the head and which one went to the other end. And it was kind of welded together, and so that's why we brought these tools. And what was interesting is we gave these guys the hammer, and then they took them back to their rooms, and the next day they didn't bring their hammer. They go, "Where's your hammer?" "Oh, we can't use our hammers. We're too nice to use."
And that is actually after I had the translator say to him, "The reason we're buying you the hammers," I said it politely, obviously, "I can't stand the one you're making me use." But anyways, they're very loving, very helpful, and very cherishing. And that, again, here's Ramon. And we stay in touch. I mean, we got to thank God for Google Translate. I mean, I don't know if any of you communicate to people that speak other languages and that, but Google Translate, there is some errors in it, but you get the question marks and that. This is David on the left here with Billy and I, and David is actually one of the lead foremen that works for the city in the construction department, and his English is about as good as my Guarani, so he's got about six words under his belt, like myself. You might have remembered about 3 years ago, I think it was, right? 3 years ago when we went down, we were to start a church. Now remember, the Chaka region in the summer, it gets 59 degrees Celsius. And so that's what, the conversion was done, if you do it, I think it's up in 130 or 140 degrees. So slightly warm. So we couldn't build the standard cheap clay brick building, because the heat would just destroy you inside. And so these walls here, a company did a major donation, not the whole system, but they're zinc plated to keep the heat out, to help reflect the heat. And like I said, things are done right. You can just see. In the third world, you get good quality products for very cheap prices. You can see the granite on the tiles and that. That's not because it's expensive. It's just cheaper down there.
And so since we donated money and we participated in the bill, when they completed the church, they waited for us to come that particular week, the second week, the last week in August, so that we could be there to take part in the church dedication. I thought that was really special and really nice of them to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling when they recognize you, and they actually are very grateful. And like I say, Sabbath morning, got to go to church. And it's always nice because we bring our own preacher with us and that.
A lot of people didn't understand it.
Yeah. So where we go, so when the kids go to school, they learn Spanish. But in the homes, they speak a language called Guarani. And unfortunately, that's not even on Google Translate. And you know how in Spanish and Portuguese and French, some of the words are very similar, right? Based and that, but like eating is whatever, mange, right? And that, to eat in Guarani is yacaru. It is not even close. And that, but the children, The children there are children all over, and they just grow so attached to us, and that they're just wonderful to have around. And this is what our dental clinic looks like.
Yeah, this is our clinic, and as I said, we have dental chairs that fold up, and I can put a dental unit pretty much in one suitcase. And here we have Rebecca, and this is Austin, who went with us last year, and he was one of the hygienists. We gave him a crash course on how to clean some teeth, and he really enjoyed that, and he was busy doing that. We have a few other people here that were also participating with us. You know,
Anybody recognize this one here? She's probably hiding back in the sound room back there somewhere. And Shandice was a great help. But Jim's very good with the young adults. Like he says, he trains, if we have no hygienist, he trains them on the Cabotrons. And we have two of them, and we put them to work cleaning teeth.
No, I have yet to hear one of our young people complain about the mission trip. A lot of parents say, you know what, I can't get them out of bed in the morning. But we start our day at 6 o'clock in the morning. These kids are off and down, ready for breakfast, ready for worship, and we never have any issues with them. This girl here is good, right?
Yeah.
I had to put up with her, but she's great.
Yeah, we're trying to get her out of the office. I don't know. But anyway,
Amazing job.
this here gentleman over here, his name's Alejandro. He works for ADRA. Guess what faith he is? Any guesses? He works for ADRA, I said. He is a Catholic young man. But he loves the Lord, and he is our ace in the hole because he speaks all 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Guarani. Yeah. And he can help us out. He is our ace in the hole.
These people really work hard here because, one of the toughest jobs is sterilizing the equipment. We have these pressure cookers that cook all day, and it's hot, it's steamy, and they're ongoing the whole time. They never stop for a moment. And, I traumatized Shandy. She was helping me with the surgery, and it got pretty bloody, and I didn't even realize that she had walked away. And then somebody told me, we better go talk to her, and I went to talk to her, and she said, I almost passed out, I just couldn't do it. But she did really, and I said, listen, did you come and help me just do some restoration? She goes, no, I'll just stick with sterilization, unfortunately, I think I'll be fine. The beauty about our website is that, people from all around the world contact us. And this young lady, she contacted us. Her name is Nicole. She contacted me, and she said that she had heard about what we were doing. She's a dental assistant there in Paraguay, and she wanted to come and help us. And she came, and she's just a wonderful, loving, just very charismatic person who really loves to serve others. And we really bonded with her, and she says that this year she's going to be there, and that she wants to bring 3 of her friends as well. And it's just wonderful to see how, young people who just go online and they see what you're doing and they want to participate.
Her name is Nicole, as Jim has said, and I'd like you to lift her up in your prayers. She had a child the 1st of March.
She was pregnant.
She was pregnant when she was working with us. She had her little baby boy the 1st of March, and a month ago the baby boy passed away suddenly. So she's devastated, but pray for her because she loves the Lord.
Yeah, one of the amazing things is that she reached out to all of us on WhatsApp, and I was just really happy at the response, how people responded to her. She really enjoyed us and had a really good time, and it was just nice to see that she would reach out to us. So she asked us to pray for her, and I would encourage you to do that for her as well. These are the 2 Brazilian dentists from Brazil who came and helped us as well. This is Jeffrey, my son. He wasn't with us last year, but the year before. But, I can never underestimate the power of taking young kids on mission trips. I've been doing this for many, many years, and our boys always went with us. And one of the most influencing factors as to why both my boys are dentists today is because they tell me that it's because of the mission trips. So I want to encourage, parents. I know it's difficult to come up with the money to go on a vacation like this, but I know that many families go on other vacations, and I want to encourage you to just save your money for a vacation to go with us on the mission trip. And I tell you right now that you'll never forget the mission trip. You'll always remember it, and it'll bless your family, and it'll bless your kids. Your kids will want to come back and want to serve the church and serve the community better, just as a result of what they did on the mission trip. Judge Jeffrey's best friend, Andrew, also came. Again, this is very typical of what we see down there. This is an extreme case. This young lady, her name is Maria. She came into the clinic, and as my wife always does, she came into the clinic and she said, listen, let my husband see you first. If some other dentist comes and gets you, say no, I want to see Dr. Marks to see you. And so I saw her, I took some x-rays, I realized that I could do something for her. I took some x-rays, she needs some root canals. So what I did, I said to her, listen, it's the end of the day, I want you to come tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, not 7:05 or 7:10. You need to be here at 7 o'clock because I will work on you before we open the clinic. We usually start working around 9 o'clock, so me and Raina came, we missed worship, we just came, and I worked on her for 4 hours. And when I showed her this, she began to cry and she wept. She said she could never get a job, and she was just so thrilled that she came to me later on that day and said, listen, I want to do something for you guys. And I said, well, what would you like to do? She said, can I volunteer? I said, absolutely. So we sent her over to the building where we were distributing the clothes, and she spent a whole week there. And what's really nice too is on Thursday night, the governor invited us out to dinner, and so all our volunteers came, and she came as well. I happened to sit across from her, and she said to me, Dr. Jim, guess what I'm doing Saturday? And I said, what? She goes, I'm going to your church.
Amen. Amen.
So, it's just, it's amazing when you do something for people, whether you give them a prayer classes or whatever, people, they gravitate to you and want to know why you do what you're doing. And so I think she was also starting to do some Bible studies. So this is the team that worked with me. This is another girl here that was 14 years of age in the Philippines. That's the best I could do for her. It looks a little bit asymmetric because she has a tooth missing here, but she looks a little bit better, right? This is another girl in the Philippines. Her name was Mary Jo. Interesting about her was she came to us and said that she could not get a job. She's 27 years old, she has 2 kids, and so I worked on her, and she started to cry. I mean, she didn't cry, she began to sob, just sob.
Were you hurting her? Were you hurting her?
Those were tears of joy, not tears of pain.
Pliers.
And so I said to her, I said, listen, you know what, we're having an evangelistic series tonight, and I would like to invite you. I said, no pressure. She didn't even hesitate. She said, yes, I'll come. So she came that night, and Lulu, being the great person she was, she sat with her and talked with her. And then that night, Pastor Bill happened to make an appeal, and she came forward. The very first night she was there, and she accepted the appeal, and she started studying the Bible.
Amen.
Just because we did something for her. This was our dental team.
Face painting. As I said, there's children everywhere. The parents come for medical attention, and as with the children, but you keep them busy. Carla here, she's a Brazilian. Actually, she's an hour and a half south right now in Paraguay. She made a commitment for 1 year, I believe, right, to volunteer at the Reach School. She loves to face paint. And the children love it. What a way to put a smile on a child's face. You can see the lineup in behind. They're just popular. This is 6 days she'll do this, sun up to sundown, always with a smile on her face, and it's a loving environment, and that.
This guy is Renato, and he comes every year. I just spoke to him this past week, and he's excited about coming. And what he does is he cuts hair, and sometimes he brings his dad or he brings some other people. And so, we give him a pair of glasses. I fix their teeth. I said, okay, they get the rest of the body worked on. They cut their hairs. And what he does too, he has a special gift. He has all these weird haircuts that he does. But what more importantly he does is these women that come and have really long hair and they want to make their hair shorter, he actually cuts them, and then he makes wigs, and he takes them to the Brazilian hospital there in his town, and he gives them to cancer patients. He's just an amazing young man who loves to serve, and he always wants to come. Wherever we go, he's always ready to come and meet us.
So you can see around this young man here, around his neck, it's like a medal, right? So one day, Carla and Renato, they went out to one of the indigenous areas, and they had their own little Olympics. and that. So, they had medals and that, but they just had fun games for the children. Again, it's just meeting people where they're at with no hidden agendas and just loving them, because that's what God does to us. That's why His Spirit called you into His fold. And that. So it's just wonderful what they do. And the haircuts for the young men, they would never, ever, ever get a haircut apart from a bowl and a pair of scissors, because they can't afford it.
He washes their hair, maybe these kids have never had to wear hair wash, I don't know, but they washes their hair, he cuts their hair like that. And these kids, they love him. They even, when we leave, they're all around him, and they just can't get enough of him. Because he just doesn't cut hair, but he communicates with him, talks with him, and they just love him to death.
Last year, we were blessed by Air Canada. They allowed us 7 free bags. Well, that may not sound like much, but 7 free bags tallies up to 350 pounds of clothing that we could take down for free. We didn't have to pay for. And so we did a big clothing drive, and some of the ladies took it out to the different indigenous communities and handed it out. And it was quite the experience.
This is my cousin Maria. This is Sandra's mom.
Yeah.
And she had never come with us, and she just loved every minute that she was there.
Yeah.
And she says, "I'm going to come back again at some point." And she's older, but she just hung in there and worked really good.
Amen. So again, working with the community, the gentleman here in the vest, his name is Ugo. He is the mayor's right-hand man. And actually, he knows the children in these communities very well. And it was pretty amazing the first time we found out, and then we saw the video. He jumps out of his truck, pulls his guitar out, and starts singing Christian songs, because it is a big Mennonite community in that. But you're all on the same page, same agenda, just wanting to help others and bring cheer to everybody. Just more of the handing out the clothes.
It didn't take very long for this clothing to disappear, like 10 minutes, and it was all gone.
Yeah, so it's just a wonderful blessing.
Yeah, here we have some of our medical team. This is a pediatrician from Brazil. This is Dr. Nestor and his wife. She does the optical for us. She's the one that distributes the glasses. And this is Hedley from Alberta. He's a retired nurse. He's in his 70s. Virtually he's come with me every year. This is a young lady, Daniela. She was doing her internship in Brazil, and she took some time to come and help us as a physician.
So it's a wonderful blessing. Like I say, our team is very broad. Right here is Dr. Ginter. He is actually one of the best dermatologists in all of South America. Very well known, and he's got a heart of gold. I mean, he did some work on me actually, on my lip that I had issues with for years, and I haven't had it since. And then again, more children. Jim's family.
This is my daughter, she's a nurse practitioner, and this is a little boy that she treated, and Jeffrey restored some of his teeth as well. So they helped him. Now, one of the challenges we have is in certain regions there are certain conditions that come about, and this condition here, if you guys might want to turn your, might not like this picture, but this is a condition that is it's a flea. And it's in the soil, and this flea penetrates the skin, and each of these little black holes are the tails of the parasites that are in the feet. And when the females begin to ovulate, they begin to expand, and they displace the nails and all that kind of stuff. And the only way to get rid of this is by physically debriding them. So we apply topical, and we just pull them out one by one. And, this works, but if you don't educate the parents and if you don't educate the child, then that child is going to go back into the soil, play in the soil. They get it on their hands as well. And so what we do is that particular year, we bought 400 pairs of shoes. Every single child in that reservation or that native community got 2 pairs of shoes. We bought them a nice pair of shoes, church shoes, and we bought them a pair of running shoes.
Sneakers.
Now, how do we do that? Ingenious. We actually put a piece of paper underneath their feet. We drew a line around their feet, put their name on there, and when we went to buy shoes, we kind of matched up, put them inside, and so everybody got their shoes. You don't just buy them in bulk and then half the kids will get their shoes. So every single child got their shoes. This is Marley. She's amazing. She does a great job. She's the one that distributes our glasses. We took 1,000 pair of glasses down last year. We distributed almost all of them. When we leave them, a lot of times they call us. they do health expos there in Paraguay as well, and they say, can we use the rest of the ounces? We say, by all means, use them all up, and they always use them all up.
Couldn't resist this little girl when I walked in at the end of the day. Just couldn't resist it. We get a lot of, we partner with the Adventist Hospital down there too, and they help us with supplies.
Yes,
and that.
One of the wonderful things about working in a third world country, if you buy the medication there, you get the best money for your buck. And what happens is
Bang for your buck.
We gave out about 1,000 prescriptions, and it costs us about $2,500 US. You know, here you go buy a prescription, it costs you $100 easy, right? So, God bless it.
2 years ago, we had the opportunity when we were in Paraguay to head into prison ministries, and Jim and I never expected that, and Billy did do evangelistic series in the church in the mornings, and then Warden did ask us to go in and that, and we may have told some of you the story of one gentleman, but just to recap, our mission trips open up as we're there. They develop, and we never know what we're getting into half the time. But you know, when God is with you, who can be against you?
You know, I never in my imagination thought I would ever go to a prison and do dentistry. And you know, Phil came to me at the end of the week. You know, we give everybody a day off before we leave so they can do whatever, do some sightseeing or buy some souvenirs. And so I told Bill, listen, I'm willing to go, but I don't know how many people will go. I don't care to go, buy souvenirs for anyone, but I said I will go. So what I did, I asked the team, we had 21 volunteers and 10 volunteered to go with us. Now, a lot of the women said no, and it's understandable that they feel uncomfortable going to a prison. So we went, and I had to have, Alan put on a skirt.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It was a prerequisite. He said, put this on.
That was the first time he ever assisted me.
And
the very first extraction I did was so difficult. And he goes, this is the way you're going to do all day. I go, I hope not. But, this was a young man, a young boy. He was probably 18 years of age. And he showed me his teeth, and there they are. And then that's what I did for him. The sad thing is that, when Jesus says that you do this to the least of me, he said, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me water. When I was sick, you came and visited me. When I was in prison, you came and visited me. What made me think about this particular situation is that Jesus did not forget anyone. These people in prison, they're forgotten. Their families don't come and visit. The system doesn't care about them. A lot of these guys that are there in prison, I talked to them, they've been there for 5 years and haven't even had a trial. Can you imagine that? Like, they don't know what's going to happen to them. And so they're there in prison. And so this is Steve. He was that first patient.
Here's the first patient. We didn't know that he was going to get baptized. We knew that there was going to be a baptism. This is actually baptism at the jail, on top of the roof.
This is 2 hours after I've extracted his tooth, my sutures in his mouth, and I asked him, I don't feel any pain, it's good, and so, go ahead.
So we had the privilege of baptizing 17 people praise God. From an elder's point of view, it was really a blessing because Pastor Ali, who is from Calgary right here, he deems that whenever he does a baptism that an elder must be with him. And I mean, the pastors call down the gift of the Holy Spirit and that, but we're allowed to put our hands on them and help the baptism. It's just very rewarding. It was something new. And so this is all the baptisms that we're on, plus in here are 8, was it? 8,
yeah,
there was a call.
Pastor Bill made an appeal, and then 8 other people came forward to be baptized. And we bought Bibles for all those prisoners that were there in prison. What we also did was, we asked the head elder there at the prison. This prison is above the roof of the prison.
Church. The church is above.
This church is actually above the roof of the prison, and it is a registered Seventh-day Adventist church.
Yep.
And so the inmates run the church, and there's probably 4 or 5 elders, and so we asked them, what can we do for you? And they said, you know what? We have no way of going. We'd like to go from cell to cell, and we need something. So we bought them a television, or a monitor,
television,
and a USB port.
Yep.
And then Pastor Bill put all kinds of information on the Bible studies. Some of his
All the It Is Written, not the It Is Written, the Lessons for Living television programs, all of them on
So what
it.
he does now, he just goes, they go from cell to cell, and they actually sit down with a person and they give them a Bible study on the screen. So it really, really worked out really nice.
This is the pastor's dream. Pastor Rob, all these people, those aren't church members. Those are people studying the Bible in there. They truck them in. They use the jeepneys over in the Philippines from each locale, from each barrio, and they brought them in. And it was slightly warm there, Billy. You can see all the fans, but there's two more big ones way over here and that on the side. But the people come out to the evangelistic series and we wound up baptizing from that one over 100 people in the ocean, and that one. To God be the glory, and that.
And one of the things we do too is that when we go to the Philippines, we always pay usually about 6 Bible workers. We pay them to start the work there 3 months before, and then when we leave, they stay 3 months because, when Bill Baby appealed, there was 100 people who wanted Bible study, so they stayed there and they provided Bible studies for the people there as well.
This is our last year's team. This is actually a brand new hotel that hosted us, and actually that's where we'll be staying again this year. Wonderful people and that who own it, and they treat us like gold actually. And this is just our team, and it's just a wonderful blessing where you get to bond with new people because every year the team changes. There's a few regulars and that, and this is what we've done last year.
Yeah, so last year the dentist saw, and the hygienist saw 335 people, doctor saw 877 people, the optometrist gave out 750 pair of glasses, and Renato got 185 haircuts, for a total of, in 5 days, we serviced 2,100 people.
Five working days, folks. And in the last 6 trips, we've done 4 churches, 1 pastor's house, 1 community kindergarten classroom. That was in Philadelphia for the mayor. And 1 sidewalk. The classroom was that was the year actually I broke my ankle, so I wasn't allowed to go. But we went back to just see the children and that. And I think, 4 of us went back? 4 or 6 of us went back. And they came running out. They blew the whistle. I don't want to say obedient, but very systematic. And they come out and they just all were hugging on and hanging onto our legs, and they didn't want to leave and that.
Just a side story about this. The mayor, I never met the mayor there before, but he came to the clinic 4 years ago, and he was shocked that 50 people were there working in the clinic. He came in and then I spoke to him briefly, and he was kind of like, he was flabbergasted. He was like, he goes, I don't understand, who paid for you guys to come? I said, no, we all took time off work and we paid our own way down. And he goes, who paid for all this medical supplies and this and that? Well, we raised money for that, right? And it was almost like, what do you want from me? Like he just didn't know what to say, right? So that evening, he came back and he said, listen, I want to do something for you guys. So he buys us, every time we're there, he buys us lunch, 50 meals into lunch for us. And we tell him, listen, you're giving us these meals, but all we do is, because we budget for that, we put it back into our project and we just give more to the community. And then that night we went out and we said to him, listen, we want to do something for you. He goes, really? I go, yeah, what do you need in the community? We want to build something for you. He's like, really? I go, yeah. Anything you want, just let us know. So then he told us, and we built the very first project was the kindergarten community. And we asked him how much, and he said $4,000. So we said, we'll bring the money. He ordered all the supplies that were there when we got there. And we did a slab, probably the size of, a cement slab the size of the floor here in the church. That's how big the slab was. And we weren't able to build the walls. And then I said, how much more money do you need? He goes, no. He goes, the slab was $2,000 and the walls would be $2,000. We will build the walls. He was very honest with us. He said, no, I need more money. He's not that type of person. He's a God-fearing person, and we really enjoy working with him.
And Jimmy and Billy always fear when we go out because from a construction point of view, I can always say, yeah, I can do it. I don't think about the dollars and cents, right? and that. But it's just a wonderful blessing. I mean, many of you have supported us, and we want to say thank you for that. Some of you have come with us. We want to say thank you for that. Many of you are praying for us. Thank you again. Maybe some of you might want to still consider it's not too late to be able to come out this year and that. young adults. I don't know if you're aware, but Bronte is willing to sponsor half, for two of you, half your fee, and that's coming out of Bronte itself. That's part of Bronte's missionary work, and that. So if you're around the age of 15, 16, talk to either Twyla. She's got applications for that, or myself, or Jim, and that, and we can talk to you about it and see. We are leaving this year again. Last week of August, we go and we're back before Labor Day, so you get that day of break provided there's no travel hindrances and that. But I guarantee you that whether you come by yourself, a friend, a family member, or your family comes, I guarantee your life will be changed. You'll look at things differently. I don't know if you noticed in Jim's pictures of the teeth, any difference between the Philippines and Paraguay. There are none. The needs are the same around the world. People are in need. They need help. They need our help. And if we've been blessed, I'm sure we all read our Sabbath school lesson. We are there to help the oppressed. We don't have to travel the world. We can do it here. But we are there for that. I want to take the time and thank you for all your prayers, for your support, and for giving us this time and that to show how God has been working around the world. Thank you.